and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sim Kern, pronouns they, them, and I have the first picture book haul review that I've done in a long time. So as many of y'all know, my spouse works for NASA. This is actually a shirt that our daughter designed for one of his projects at NASA. And so space science is a really big topic in our house. I wanted to share with you 16 picture books I found that are great for teaching all these different aspects of space science, from like learning constellations, the concept of gravity, like Apollo history of astronomers, what are stars, like so many different things to tackle related to space science. And I have to be honest that a big reason that I was like inspired to finally put another one of these videos together is I got my first print picture book sent to me in the mail for in exchange for a review. So I'm not like sponsored or anything, but the publishers of What's Hidden in the Sky sent me this book. It's incredibly beautiful. It's become one of my daughter's favorites, so I'm really excited to tell you about it. And I've paired it with 15 other books about space and star and science related topics that would go well with this one. Okay, so with that, let's start with What's Hidden in the Sky. You're gonna need a flashlight to be able to read this book with your kid. So basically the book is set in different bedrooms of kids around the world. So you see that like the architecture and the style of their rooms is all different. And in each room there's a window, and you open the flap on that window and find a constellation. But what's really cool, let's see if I can do this, is when you shine a flashlight behind the constellation. Here, wait, let me do this. Okay, so it's easier to do this when you're not upside down. So when you shine a flashlight behind the constellation, it reveals the picture of the animal. It's bright in here, so it's harder to see than when you do this at nighttime, but you can see the animal that it's meant to reveal. So this one is a dolphin. And again, when you do it at night and you shine the light behind the picture, it looks really, really cool. I'll drop in a video of my husband reading this to my daughter at night, and you can see like how magical it is.
A fish it is not, though the sea is its home. It leaps, sings, and plays all at once as it roams. Aim your gaze at the vibrant night sky, and its long shining beak you will spy.
A dolphin!
Whoa. That's right. And each one of them is an animal constellation, which is great for little kids. Little kids love that. And it's also teaching the concept that in different parts of the world, you see different stars. And you see them in a different, configuration. So there's a lot of scientific value to this book. The mechanics of the lift the flap and the shining the flashlight, and the kid can be the one to shine the flashlight behind the picture. It's just made it so much fun, and my daughter's obsessed with this book and asking for it every day. So I'm very happy to recommend this book, and I'm so glad that they sent me a copy. And if more picture book publishers want to send me books to review, I would love that, because we're always going through picture books, and I love that. The next book, also about constellations, is Once Upon a Starry Night, a book of constellations. Now, it's great that there's no overlap between these two books, because that one's all animal constellations and this one's all Greek myths. So for each constellation, you get the stars are in foil. And so you see the pattern of the stars in the constellation overlaid over these really gorgeously illustrated images. And then there's a short version of the Greek myth behind each one. And the authors have really cleverly linked the stories together in order so that it feels like one continuous story, from like Cassiopeia goes into Andromeda's story, goes into Perseus's story. Like the way they're ordered makes sense. It is kind of like a long read for younger kids, so you might just pick like one or two a night in that case. So those are it for constellations. Now, if you want to teach kids what are stars, what a star actually is, one of the best books that I've found for really young readers is Star, One in a Billion. And I'm missing the dust jacket for this one, because we don't keep dust jackets in this house. But it's called Sun, One in a Billion. And it's there's 3 of these books. There's also Moon, Earth's Best Friend, and Earth, My First 4.5 Billion Years. All by probably McNulty, Stacy McNulty, and Stevie Lewis is the illustrator. And anyways, you want to teach kids what a star is. This is a great book to start. The star, the sun, the earth, and the moon in these various books are anthropomorphized, of course. They're given personality traits. So the sun in this one is a performer, is a star, obviously. But it also teaches a ton of great science, but it's like a manageable amount of text per page for even really young readers. So even when my daughter, we've had these books a couple of years, even when my daughter was like 2, she was learning facts about the solar system and repeating them. Her favorite of the 3 was Moon, Earth's Best Friend. I don't know why. She was just like really fascinated by this moon. To this day, like anytime she sees the moon in the sky, like during the daytime, she's so excited and like, oh my God, moon. But you know, she learned about the phases of the moon from this one, that the moon spins, that it orbits around the sun. It's not the only moon. So these are just great books for teaching some of that space science to even really young readers, and they're fun, and they've got colorful, fun illustrations and not too much text per page. So I ended up investing in buying all 3 of these. Another book that's great for even pretty young readers teaching a very important space science concept is Gravity by Jason Chin. I love Jason Chin's books. He's an author and illustrator of picture books, and his illustrations are these incredible, I think, oil paintings. They're always just like really, really gorgeous. But most of them are designed for older readers, probably like 3rd, 4th grade-ish, with lots of text per page and more advanced scientific concept and vocabulary. But this one is great for even really young kids, like even 1.5-year-olds just starting to get interested in books would probably be interested in this one because the images are so fun. It shows, you know, what would happen if there was no gravity. Everything's flying up into space, but luckily there is gravity, and so then everything starts to get like sucked back down to the earth. And I think that this is the book that taught my daughter like the word gravity. This is the 2nd time we've checked it out. I remember we checked it out again when she was like, again, maybe 2.5 or 3. And we read it a lot that week, and then she started using the word gravity after that, and you know, has known that concept ever since. So definitely recommend. Another one that teaches a whole bunch of different space science concepts, and this one's for maybe a little bit older kids, probably wouldn't work well with the 2 and 3-year-olds, but 4 and 5-year-olds and up will enjoy There's No Place Like Space. This is in the Cat in the Hat library, but it's not like an original Dr. Seuss book. It was written by Tish Robb, illustrated by, the name is covered by the sticker, illustrated by Aristides Ruiz. And so this one goes through with the Cat in the Hat, like IP, teaching the 2 little kids from the Cat in the Hat all about outer space. So they get into his spaceship. It's a rhyming poem. He teaches them about the 8 planets, as well as, and just kind of like, you know, each planet gets like a little quatrain, and then teaches them about the sun being a star, and there's a page on constellations. So just kind of a scattershot of like important space science concepts, probably ideally suited for like kinder, 1st, 2nd grade. And also good for kids learning to read at the probably 2nd or 3rd grade level. Would have a good time reading this book and then learning the proper names of like the planets and learning to read those. Another book in the Cat in the Hat library that is much beloved in this house, and this was my this is my copy from when I was a little kid. My brother ripped this page off when we were little. So this is precious. I think it's out of print. It may be in print in paperback, but it's definitely out of print in hardcover, which is just such a shame because it's such a good Berenstain Bears book, and it's such a good lunar mission book. So my husband, like I said, works for NASA. He's actually like kind of an expert on the lunar missions and stuff, and he just loves how much this book gets right. There's only one part he finds really annoying, but I'll tell you about that later. Ever since my daughter was like 2, she's loved this book. Basically the 2 bear and sea bears and their kids and their dog go on what's basically an Apollo mission. So they go to outer space. The rhyme scheme is like really fun. The crowd counts down, the rockets blast, they wave goodbye, they are off at last. 2 little bears and 1 little pup, they are off to the moon, going up, up, up. My husband likes how when they're on the moon, actually, they do exactly what the astronauts did on the lunar missions. So they fly their flag, they take moon notes, very important to take notes in space. They collect moon rocks in their moon rock totes. I don't know, he's just like, yeah, that's what they did. They practiced some jumps, you know, that's what was happening. The part that is really annoying to him is they run into a meteor shower. Up ahead, it's a shower, it's a meteor shower. They will have to go through, turn on more power. Every time we get to that point, my husband's like, oh my God, that's such a terrible idea. Like, says to our daughter, like, hey, if you're ever on a spaceship flying into a meteor shower, like, do not go faster, go around it, don't go through it. Anyways, so we really love this book, and I hope it comes back into print at some point, and you can find copies of it on eBay, and if you can get one, it's a treasure. Like, this one's great. Okay, for a more serious NASA history, Apollo history, Moonshot is about the flight of Apollo 11. This is a Brian Floca book. Like Jason Chin, he is a writer and illustrator who does these incredibly gorgeous illustrations. This one, like, and look, there's all the different stages of the rocket. There's all this information. This is just the liner notes. And then it tells like a pretty detailed story of the Apollo 11 launch. Has a ton of just like facts about the astronauts, including like things kids will find funny, like bathroom stuff. Kids always want to know about how astronauts go to the bathroom. But it is written kind of poetically and long, like a lot of text per page. So actually, when we read this to the kids, I will usually just like skip around or read like a couple of the lines from each page. My husband will just like talk about what's in each page and like riff off it, because he knows like so much more and stuff. I will say at this point, my daughter is having like a bit of a rebellion because there's like so much space stuff in her family. And then I got all these books to do this video and was like trying to get her to read them with me so they'd be fresh in my mind for the video. And she got really frustrated one night and was like, I'm not gonna be an astronaut, I'm gonna be a fairy princess. And she's been like, no more space books. So I will warn you that like, don't maybe get all 16 of these at once and force your kid to read them in a row because they might get frustrated, and that's the opposite of what you want. Yeah, so, but I do hope she comes around. This was the book Moonshot, maybe because it's so technical, where she was just like, that's where she said that she was just done with the space books. But hopefully this is just like this week I overdid it, and you know, she does love these topics on a regular basis. This one's If You Were a Kid Docking at the International Space Station. Got this one because my husband works obviously a lot with the space station and the astronauts up there, and I thought it'd be fun for him to, you know, be able to show Ramona where he works. And in this story, Lucy and Tim, their their older cousin is an astronaut who's going to be going up to the International Space Station, and so they're like learning about her job and also imagining themselves going up into outer space. But it is like a lot of text. I think this is for older readers. My daughter is not quite ready to like sit and listen to all of this. And because it's like in this format, you know, it's like one of these scholastic nonfiction books, it's like kids anticipate that it's not going to be as fun when it's like one of these and when it's like got the caption boxes, you know. So the story isn't as incredible as some of the others, but it's the only book I found specifically about the International Space Station. So if your kid is interested in that, or if you're teaching about that, or you want them to learn about that, and it's like the science is ongoing, right? Like the ISS is happening now. You can tune into a live feed and see what the astronauts are up to like 24/7 as opposed to Apollo, which happened however many decades ago, 60 years ago. Or it ended in the 80s, I think, so 30 years ago. Anyways, check out this one if you need a book about the ISS. And if you know of other books about the ISS that are maybe a little bit more story-ish or appropriate for younger readers, let me know. Next, we're going to get into some biographies. The first one is Star Stuff, which is a very cute biography of Carl Sagan. It starts out when Carl's a little boy and he's not necessarily interested in space yet. He's just, he goes to see the World's Fair, and that really incites his curiosity and interest in the planets and the stars. And it describes him becoming an astronomer. There's some cool fold-out pages that will make this like a wowie moment for our younger readers who sometimes need that in more biographical books. So I think there's 2 pages like that fold out all the way. And then it just kind of, it's most of the book, I would say like 80% of the book is him as a kid, which is good for young readers for biographies. And then there's a couple of pages about him becoming, you know, a scientist and working on all of these Viking mission, Pioneer mission, Mariner mission, like it just kind of lists them. It's not going too much into detail. Again, good for younger readers. And then how he decides to go on TV and share all of the things that he is so passionate about with the world when he makes the Cosmos series. And then it ends with talking about the Voyager missions, which are, you know, our introduction to alien life that we sent out of the solar system and are still going. So it's quite moving. I actually got teary at the end of reading this at the first time because I'm just like, I love Carl Sagan and I love the whole concept of the Voyager missions, and it was really beautiful. Another biography that I picked up is The Stuff Between the Stars, How Vera Rubin Discovered Most of the Universe. So this is a biography of Vera Rubin, who was a female astronomer. A lot of it is about how she was sort of marginalized as a female astronomer and not taken seriously for a very long time. It's always with the bathrooms and like NASA stuff. But anyways, like there was no bathroom in the astronomy building where she worked for women. So she put a skirt on the door, the guy on the door. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what it says in the biography. And she actually is the person who figured out that, I may not be saying this exactly right, but like proved that dark matter existed and that you can't explain the movement of the galaxies without dark matter. This biography is, we got a couple pages into it, and my daughter, who's again just about to turn 5, so like still very young, wasn't able to, like, was like bored, like, can we stop? And she used to kind of suffer through books that were too advanced for her. Now she's like, next. So she won't let me finish this. I think that if she was a little bit older, she would be more interested in it. I think this one, unlike the Carl Sagan book, it is like mostly about her adult career and like feeling unwelcome in scientific spaces and people not taking my research seriously. Those are big concepts for a not even 5-year-old to be relating to. So that's something that to look for in terms of age appropriateness with biographies is like, if you want most of it to be like them as a kid, because that's where your child is going to relate to that person. But I thought it was interesting, and I didn't know anything about Vera Rubin, and now I do, and I think it's great to highlight women in astronomy because they're often not, and women in space science, because, you know, boys club, it still is a boys club over at NASA. I mean, it's getting better, but it's a lot of boys. Also super important, obviously, to highlight people of color in space science because it is, again, a place where they experience a ton of marginalization. And so this is a wonderful book about Mae Jemison. This was one we'd checked out from the library before, and I might have shared it with you before, but now we own it in the paperback form because I loved it so much. So this is the story of Mae Jemison, who was the first Black female astronaut. It talks about her growing up, and she was, during the Apollo era, she loved space science. She wanted to grow up to be an astronaut. And one day at school, it's like a career day thing. The teacher was asking them, the white teacher was asking the kids, like, you know, what do you want to be when you grow up? And May said that she wanted to be an astronaut, and everyone kind of made fun of her. And the teacher was like, "Are you sure you don't want to be a nurse?" And she said, "No, I don't want to be a nurse. I want to be an astronaut." And she's really upset about it. And her mom tells her, you know, if you believe in yourself and work hard, you can do anything. And then she did, obviously. She became an astronaut. So that one's really great. And we love this book. And my daughter really likes this story. And again, famous person biography. Most of the book, the character is a little kid. That's the way to do it. So another book that's great, showing like Black girls can be passionate about space science, is Rocket Says Don't Look Up. And obviously there's like a visual wearing the astronaut flight suit, the same one that Mae Jemison wore, is like almost like a quote of that. So this book is about Rocket, who is just like loves outer space. That's like her whole thing. And it's going to be the Phoenix meteor shower soon. And she wants to invite like everyone on her block to come watch the Phoenix meteor shower. But Rocket has an older brother who's always on his phone. And I think this is actually the aspect of the story that my daughter relates to the most, because she has an older sister and an older cousin who she always wants to play with. They're like always on their phone. Even, you know, us parents, sometimes we're too on our phone when she wants us to play with her. So the don't look up part is like at the end when the meteor shower happens, like she finally gets her older brother to like look up from his phone and like share her passion for the cosmos, and like it's really beautiful. So also really love Rocket Says Look Up. The last two books are books by astronauts about astronaut stuff. So the first one is The Darkest Dark by Chris Hadfield. And Chris Hadfield is an astronaut who's done multiple tours, I think, on the ISS. And so at the beginning, he loves playing space, but he's afraid of the dark. And this is really a more than a space science book. This is a getting over your fear of the dark book. So yeah, as a kid, he was really afraid of the dark, and he would like imagine bad things in the dark. And it talks about how his parents like tried to get him over his fear of the dark. They gave him a bell by his bed that he could read. And then it's not until he watches the Apollo moon landing that he suddenly like thinks that the darkness, like space, is the darkest dark of all. And it's incredible and it's fascinating to him. And so he after that, he's changed, and he like embraces the dark, and he thinks that the dark is a great place for like your imagination. Look at this great last page spread. I love it so much. So yeah, this is a great book. If your kid's dealing with a fear of the dark, it could be a good choice. If they're just interested in astronauts' childhoods, also a good choice. The last one is Maustronaut by astronaut Mark Kelly. This one is a very cute storybook about a mouse who is taken up to the ISS, like taken up into space. And what happens is the key to the control panel falls down like a crack, and the astronauts need it and they can't like fish it out. And the Maustronaut, or the mouse, is able to get the key out safely, and then they make the mouse an official Maustronaut. So it's like a cute animal story that like happens to be set in space. I'm not sure it teaches you much space science besides the fact that it's teaching you that animals are important crew members, right? In space there's a ton of scientific experiments that use mice. I think it's nice that Mark Kelly chose to like highlight their contribution. So those are my 16 books about stars and constellations and space science and all this stuff. There are so many more out there. Obviously, this is a very popular topic for Kids Lit. So I'd love to know which ones you think I've missed that are really good that I should check out. And let me know also what other categories of like picture book hauls you'd like me to do in the future. I haven't done one of these in I think a year, so I'm excited to get back into it. Also, very importantly, I am now on TikTok. I got kind of freaked out that Elon Musk is taking over Twitter, and like I don't know if y'all know this over here on YouTube, but I got this big Twitter following that I have from a viral post I had last summer making fun of Elon Musk and space billionaires and talking about them shitting in space. And yeah, so I'm a little worried if Elon Musk starts like banning anyone who's ever talked shit about him on Twitter. That would definitely include me. That's kind of my brand. So I'm diversifying my social media accounts, and I've created a TikTok. It is Sim space book talks space badly. Sim book talks badly. You'll also probably find it if you just search Sim Kern. So if you think I'm too long-winded in these videos, TikTok will force me to I'm gonna make like shorter picture book videos about like 2 or 3 picture books at a time probably. So yeah, check me out there, like and subscribe here. Tell me if you enjoyed this. I love getting feedback from y'all, and I'll see you next time. Bye.